If you are a business owner that is finding yourself wanting to be successful and also struggling to rest, then I need you to stop what it is that you're doing and tune in today's episode. Alisha Robertson, who is a writer, creator, and rest advocate, talks about how we as business owners can strive for success without burning ourselves out. She also walks us through her own business journey and the things she had to let go of in order to be successful. And she walks us through how we can get a deeper understanding of what our actual capacity is and how we can communicate that. This conversation is so needed, and trust me when I say that you are going to love this episode. Now let's get into it. Hello, Alisha. How are we doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I know. I am so excited for you to be here because I think that so many of us as business owners are very high achieving. I know
Mhm.
I am. And I think we need to have a really honest conversation about
Mhm.
being high achievers and how to figure out success and rest and all of that. And I think this is a perfect time, especially within the new year. So thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. This is like my favorite topic to dig into, so I'm
Wh-
excited.
which is why you're here. Because I knew you would deliver. So I am really curious to know about your journey of how
Mhm.
you've really dealt with I feel like it's like a clash, like a battle of like wanting to succeed versus the need to rest. Like, what did that internal battle look like for you?
Yeah, so for me, it started shortly after I had my daughter. Well, when I really noticed it, it was shortly after
Mhm.
I had my daughter. I have been an entrepreneur in some capacity for over 10 years now, and I started out thinking that it was the norm to always be
Mhm.
exhausted and tired. Like I was listening to like all of the quote unquote marketing bros, and they were like,
Mhm.
sleep when you're dead. If you really want it, you'll go for it, you'll go hard. And I don't have, and I didn't at the time have any entrepreneurs around me to tell me any different. So I thought that's what it looked like. So
Mhm.
prior to having my daughter, I spent years just flowing in and out of burnout because I really thought it was the norm. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until I had her that I realized that one, I have a human to take care of now.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
literally cannot operate like this anymore. I also really struggled with like postpartum depression, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't have the capacity any longer to go through these like big dips and ebbs and flows like mentally of how my business was draining me. So
Mhm.
it really took me some time of like stepping back and saying, wait, I don't think the way I've been running my business has been healthy. I
Mhm.
don't feel healthy. I'm actually exhausted. So I took some time off of entrepreneurship. I actually took an entire year off, and I had to unlearn literally everything that I was taught about it because that was all I knew. So like I went to therapy, I got a job. Like I really took some time to like dismantle everything that I thought I knew about entrepreneurship. And it was really hard for me too because so much of my identity was built around being like this hustler and this
Mhm.
go-getter and someone who was super ambitious. And how do you deal with that now when you realize that everything you have been taught feels like a big lie, that you
Mhm.
no longer can be that person that you thought you were always going to be? So it was a lot of just redefining what success looked like for me, a lot of unlearning, and
Mhm.
also just a lot of figuring out who I was outside of Alicia the entrepreneur.
Oh my gosh, there's
Mhm.
so much to unpack in that because I literally
Mhm.
just saw a Instagram post from do you know who Danielle Bayard Jackson is? She's like the friendship coach. Um
Yeah, I think I've heard.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
she created an
Mhm.
Instagram post the other day, and she's been on the show before talking about friendships, but she was saying with high
Mhm.
achieving women and why high achieving women like struggle so hard to make friends. And she was saying how like sometimes when we meet people, we always immediately go to what we do because that's where our identity lies. Like we don't know
Mhm.
ourselves
Yeah.
outside of being an entrepreneur. And
Mhm.
I sat there and I was like, number one, Danielle, please, I'm eating. Like we don't have to like, you know what I mean? I was like,
Don't drag me.
don't drag me. I'm trying to have a meal in peace and you come here with this? disrespect. Like there was that. And then I had to process through and I was like, damn, she's talking about me. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and, you know, and like even just now, so I love that you said that of like we having to get to know yourself outside of being the
Mhm.
entrepreneur. I feel like a lot of us, and like me included, even currently right now, my whole identity is wrapped up in being a business owner. A good chunk of my friends
Mhm.
are business owners. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
have a lot of, like, I have more friends now that are business owners than I do of just like regular friends.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for so for you, what did that some of that unlearning look like? What did that like you getting to know yourself outside of Alicia the entrepreneur? Like,
Mhm.
what did that look like for you?
Yeah. So therapy, lots of therapy.
Therapy, yeah,
highly,
yeah,
highly recommend.
yeah.
But it really helped me to kind of peel back the layers of like, okay, your hobby is your business. Your career is your business.
Mm-hmm.
Your start to conversations is about business. Like everything is built around it. So let's peel back the layers of like, who would you be or what would you do if entrepreneurship wasn't there, if entrepreneurship wasn't a factor? And through like a lot of just asking myself questions, it was almost like dating myself. Like,
Mm,
what is it that I really want? Like when I retire, what is it that what is going to be that like fulfills my life? What am I going to enjoy doing?
mhm.
Where do I see myself when entrepreneurship is no longer a thing? Because I don't know about y'all, but like I don't want to be 95 still working in my business.
Yeah,
So it was
no.
a lot of, yeah, it was a lot of asking myself questions and I actually would take myself out and
Mm,
walk around and like just think through these things of like, okay, who are you? What do you really enjoy? So I would ask myself, okay, when I was a kid, what did I enjoy doing and how can I like incorporate more of that into my life? And for me, I realized I'm really curious. I love to learn new things. And for a long time, I would be curious and learn new things through the lens of entrepreneurship. But
mm,
it's like, no, girl, you can have hobbies. You can create art that has no expectation of being sold because you're terrible at it, but it's
mhm,
fun. You
mhm,
can um listen to podcasts that don't aren't always just about building a business. You can play, you can find things that
mhm,
bring you joy. Like I love quiet time. Like I found like this new respect for enjoying time with myself and not feeling like I always have to be tinkering or on my laptop or answering emails or things like that. So
mm,
it was a lot of one, asking myself questions, going back
mhm,
through dating myself, getting to know who I am again, thinking about what little 7, 8 year old Alicia would love to do, and thinking about like what I used to say I wanted to be when I was older. And then also really using therapy as a way to dig deep into, okay, why do you believe that you don't have an identity outside of entrepreneurship? Like, what are
mhm,
the factors that led you to believing that you always have to be doing something that is going to generate revenue? Why the only way you can find joy is through money or through building something new? So, like, really digging deep into like scarcity mindset and like
mm,
different ways that I was raised, and how different disappointments in my past have really shaped and molded me into like this person who feels like I have to work all the time. If I don't work, I'm not going to eat. I'm going to fail. Everything is going to burn
mhm,
down. And being able to sit back and say, no, that is all a lie. It is
mhm,
actually anxiety that is just talking to you. So let's
mhm,
sit back and think about, okay, realistically, if I take a day off of work, what's the worst that could happen?
mhm.
What? I'm well rested? Okay, great.
Great.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
If you say no to this opportunity, what's the worst that could happen?
Mhm,
You get to say yes to something that you would rather do, anyway. So
mhm,
it's like a lot of just peeling back the layers of like, who is Alicia if entrepreneurship wasn't a factor? And
mhm.
then digging deep into what led me here in the first place.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I love that. And I think that's I say it all the time that we as human beings, we're so multifaceted. So when people try to separate of like business and personal, business is
Mhm.
personal, right? Like
Yeah.
the way you show up in your business
Mhm.
absolutely is personal because the way you have viewed the world, your experiences, what you walk through is
Mhm.
how you run your business. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of the times when you're like, why am I working? It's truly a more personal, deeper reason that happened in your past that really shaped you. And so
Mhm.
I love that you did a lot of that deep thinking and awareness and really just like deconstructing because I think that's just so valuable. information that you're taking with you to really change the game of how you want to run your business, because you want to be
Hmm.
sustainable. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of us, like even right now, I'm in a busier season of launching my storytelling course, like getting ready to do that. And
Hmm.
I'm noticing that I'm in a busier season, but I have had to, because my ass was knocked out. Like I got sick. And it was like, I didn't catch up. It was truly, I was pulling all nighters, you know what I mean? And,
Ooh, yeah.
and my body was like, psych. And so I
Hmm.
quickly realized that there is no way, like, my body has to be number one. Otherwise, I can't show up on this show. I can't do the things that I want to do. And so, like, even now, I've lightened the load. I've had to lighten it up
Yeah.
even more of being like, okay, what can I automate and what can I delegate? Because
Hmm.
it's not realistic. But it's not an easy thing to do. It's not, because I am the type of person that's like, I feel like I have to work constantly. Like if I'm not working and I'm not making
Hmm.
money, it's the same thing. And so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm working through that myself. And I think there's so many of us that are like that, especially in those busier
Hmm.
seasons. And so I think it's like, it's great to see where you're at, and also to have like putting in the work to like actually take care of yourself. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing that. And so
Thank you.
I'm really, we often face like fears and doubts and just moment of uncertainties as business owners. Has it like, where do you think that really ultimately comes from? And how has it popped up in a way for you that's really been surprising for you as like you've thought about
Yeah.
your own business your own journey as a business owner?
Yeah. So I think fear and doubt, a lot of that is stemmed from one, that FOMO that we feel,
Mm,
like the fear of
yes.
missing out. It's like we just mentioned, it's like if I don't work, then I'm not going to make money, and then I'm not going to have this opportunity. And it's like you don't even know what is coming tomorrow. So
Yes.
it's
Yep.
that fear of missing out that is kind of taken away from what you should be focusing on
Hmm.
today. And then
Hmm.
also a lot of that fear and doubt that we experience, I think, comes from not really having a clear understanding or a clear vision of what we want as far
Hmm.
as success goes. It's so easy to get wrapped up in what everyone else is doing and all the accomplishments that everyone else has gained and all these new opportunities that are around us, that we kind of forget that, like, maybe I don't even want those things, or maybe
Hmm.
that thing that other person has doesn't even align with like my mission or my goals or like my core values. So we consume so much of other people's wins. And like, don't get me wrong, it is great to see what others are doing. It is great to congratulate other people. I'm not saying like you need to block off your view from everyone,
Hmm.
but I believe that we as entrepreneurs need to get better at being able to congratulate someone for what they did, and
Hmm.
then sitting here and saying, that's great that they did that, but maybe that is not for me. Maybe
Hmm.
that doesn't have to be something that I achieve to just because they have succeeded at it. So
Yeah.
being very, very clear at like, what does success look like for me? And I'm talking so clear to the point where if you're seeing everyone's successes and things around you, you're
Hmm.
like, great, you got it, girl, you can do this. But like, I am so focused on my own thing, I don't have time to like let that kind of infiltrate my own brain. So like
Yeah.
that eliminates a lot of that fear, a lot of that fear of missing out, a lot of that doubt. And also too, I feel like being very clear on what it is that you want also helps to eliminate a lot of that potential for burnout and exhaustion, because
Hmm.
you're focused on your thing and you're not focused on your thing plus everybody else's thing. We don't have the capacity just
Yes.
naturally to try to achieve our goals and then everyone else's goals as well. So if you're very clear on what it is that you want, it eliminates that doubt, because it's like, I know what I want. I know what I'm going after. I know that these are my goals. These are my aspirations. This is what I ultimately want to be or want to do. And then it eliminates any of that fear of, well, I don't know if I can do that just because they did it, or
Hmm.
I don't know if I could be, you know, featured on that thing or launch that product just because they did it,
They
because
did it. Yeah.
that's not even what you were meant to do. It's not even what you're planning to do. So yes, definitely getting over that like fear of missing out, but then getting so clear of what it is that you want. And that thing can change over time, like we're human, but just always staying focused on what it is that you want. And like down to the point where even for myself, I've recently gotten really into bullet journaling.
Yes. Mm,
Yeah, so
mm,
I have like this vision that I've kind of like created and mapped out, and I've put it in every single journal that I have because I want to know when I sit down to plan out my day, when I sit down to like write out my ideas, I want what I'm working on to be at the forefront. Even in like
mhm,
my ClickUp dashboard, I have it.
mhm.
So like when I'm knocking off like tasks, I want to make sure that whatever it is that I'm doing, my own vision is what is driving me and not everyone
Yes.
else's.
Yes, I think I love that you brought that up because I think we don't realize how we easily get swayed
Yeah.
um,
Mm-hmm.
on the things that we're consuming. And I've noticed too, like in my business, like whenever I'm doing something that is new, right, or I want to launch something new or something that I have never done before, you are much more sensitive to things
Mm-hmm.
and how you receive things. So when I know like I'm getting ready to launch something, like even right now
Mm-hmm.
with my storytelling course, like I mute people left and right because I'm very
Yeah.
sensitive. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to look at people. I don't want to compare. Like I want what I'm creating to be from me, from the heart, from a place of service.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to feel so confident in what I'm creating, right? So like
Yeah.
I think I love
Mm-hmm.
that what you said that like how do we stay grounded? How do you have like your vision of like where you're consistently seeing it to remind you. And I think that's
Yeah.
so smart because you'll be like, "Yep, I remember." And then you're scrolling and you forget.
It goes out the window.
It goes out the window. It has not
Yeah.
absorbed. So it's like, what are the ways that you
Yeah.
can consistently, like, whether it's like a sticky note on your mirror, like, what are ways that you were
Mm-hmm.
constantly seeing what your vision is so you don't lose sight of that? Because it's so easy. You see other people's success and you're like, well, maybe I should try that instead because it worked for
Yeah.
them. But they got a different audience. They're in a different
Mm-hmm.
stage of business than you are, right? Like, you don't know all of the other circumstances with why they decided to go
Yeah.
that route. But like, all we see are the highlight reels, the accolades. And we're like,
Mm-hmm.
and a question I want to add on to is as well is like for
Mm-hmm.
me, and I think there's other people like how I struggle, right? Because I'm like, I'm not, and this is me being a high achiever. I am. People say I'm very hard on myself, and I'm trying to work on it. Not today. Well, it's not happening right now in this conversation. I mean,
We can work. Look, we can work
we
through
can
it.
work on it together. We can work on it
Yes.
together. I was like, oh, it's not happening today, but I think of because I'm like, I'm not where I want to be yet.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's like that's why for me I'm like, no, I got to do one more task. I got to do it one more
Mm-hmm.
time. And that's not helpful. So I guess like for
Yeah.
business owners that are like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And like for me, I'm going to like I do. I've been finding more ways to like really regulate my nervous system and like really think to
Mm-hmm.
myself of like what's for you can't pass you and it's all in timing. But
Yeah.
it's not easy. And so I guess like like what advice do you have for business owners that are like, okay, I hear you, but like I'm not where I want to be and I
Yeah.
want to get to it now. You know what I mean? Like what
Yeah.
advice do you have?
Oh. So I would say first off, you have time. Like I know no one knows what tomorrow holds or the next day will hold, but you have time. You piling it all into this one day is going to do nothing but leave you burnt out for tomorrow. So like
Mhm.
what's the point of doing all of these things today if tomorrow you're so tired you can't get out of bed and you can't do anything, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
like you have to remember that you have time, and it is so much better for you to focus on doing one thing really really well
Mhm.
versus trying to add in all of these like tasks just to say that you checked off 10 things today. Like if you are piling on 12 different tasks into your day and you're honestly half-assing all of them, is that really going to help you to grow your business and get it to where you
Exactly.
want it to be? Probably
Mhm.
not, right? But
Mhm.
if you take one or maybe two tasks and say, okay, I am really going to like think this through. I am going to take my time with it. I am going to really flesh it out. I'm going to implement it great. That is going to have a greater impact on your business than trying to knock off all of these like vanity tasks just so that your planner looks great with all of these like check marks
Yeah, yeah.
and like all of these like highlights. Like
Yeah.
you have time to get the things that you need done, and I just think it's just so much more important for you to focus on, okay, what is this one task that's really going to move the needle in my business, or
Mhm.
that's really going to make a difference in my business, and let me like really focus on that. And like even if it doesn't take you an entire 8 hours to do it, just saying like, okay, what if I did take an extra 15 minutes to like read over that blog post that I created, or
Mm,
take an extra 10 minutes to make sure that like the audio is actually working throughout my entire YouTube video. Just
mm,
those little steps, I feel like those little details are what really make a difference in how we grow our business, versus just saying, I have 20 things on my to-do
mm,
list, I'm going to do
mm.
all of them, and then like you got typos and your call to action buttons don't work, or
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
exhausted and you're tired. And I tell entrepreneurs all the time, like, the best business strategy you can have is rest,
Mm,
because you come into the next day, you come into your next like work stint feeling a lot lighter, you're a lot more well rested, you have a clearer mind, you're not overwhelmed, you can like make great educational like decisions based on, like real measurements in your business and where you want to go, versus coming into your business exhausted, tired, and you can't even form a sentence because you're so burnt out. So
yes.
yeah, so focusing on like, slow it down. Like, it's
Mm,
okay. I know, again, the internet makes us feel like everyone is moving at hyper speed. And I will say, if you feel like an entrepreneur that you're working or that you're looking at is moving that fast, more than likely they have a team.
mhm,
They are not doing all of those things on their own. Or two, they are just as burnt out as you are. They're just not telling you that, right?
mm,
And that
mhm,
is just not something that we should achieve to. Again, we don't know what's really going on behind the screen of many people's businesses. So,
mhm.
like, take your time, slow down, know that you do have time. Like, don't procrastinate, don't fall into procrastination, of course, but take your time. Take those extra 10 minutes to make sure that what you're putting out into the world is something that you can actually be proud of, and
Yeah.
watch how that grows your business significantly more than piling on 12 extra tasks just for the sake of saying that you were busy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And
Mhm.
I definitely have been
Yeah.
this past year. Like that was like one of the major strategies I've been implementing in my business,
Mhm.
is focusing on more revenue generating tasks because I, am doing the podcast full time and then I'm still managing my business. And it was just like a lot
Mhm.
of grieving. I brought this up several times on the show where it's like grieving, not in a bad way, but it's like I thought things were going to be this way and they're no longer. So I have to move
Oh
completely
yeah.
differently. And I have to be a
Mhm.
completely different person than I was at the time, like
Yeah.
when I decided to be like when I was like, okay, let's do this. I'll be host of the show. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm a totally different person now. And so that was hard. And like, but then like
Yeah.
narrowing down because I used to have the vanity tasks that just made you feel really good
Mhm.
about yourself.
Yeah, it's like a
But
dopamine
it's a
fix.
dopamine
Like,
thing. But then when you're not
yeah.
making money, that dopamine don't hit no more.
No,
Trust.
now
And
you're
I was
just
like, we got it.
sad.
So now tasks that I was putting off, I was like, I got to do it. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, but all that to say is, right. Like, I love that. Like, I love how you like take that extra time. Because
Mhm.
it's true. Like so many times if I do finish a task early, I'm like, okay, great. I'm done. Next one. Even now, as I'm focusing,
Mhm.
even now as I have less tasks, but
Yeah.
I now also too, I'm trying to be much more intentional with how much time things take because I'm also not
Mhm.
fully aware. That's what ended up like with me staying up late. But I think like even too of
Mhm.
like, being aware of how you work and your capacity just in general within a task because when you were going to a task you give a lot, like it takes a lot
Yeah.
out of you. And so
Mhm.
really getting to know yourself as well of like how you work, like when are you most productive, stuff like that, instead of
Mhm.
like trying to like force yourself. Like I am not a morning person.
Mhm.
I have tried getting up at 5 6
Oh
a.m. and
no.
I have tried. I can't. And I have accepted that about
Mm-mm.
myself. Like I am very productive in the like early afternoon into the like into the evening. That's when I get
Mhm.
my most work done. And so, but that's what I've said about myself. And I've built things around that.
Yeah.
So I can be my best self. But anyway, all that just to say, just to
Yeah.
add to that. But what you also shared though is really, really good feedback of like taking that extra couple of minutes because I definitely don't do that. And it's true, like
Mhm.
that just adds to the higher quality of work that you're doing. And when you're producing that high
Mhm.
quality, you're deepening the relationship with your audience, you're building a deeper community. And
Yep.
that's going to take you way further than just moving on to the next task. And you got all these
Mhm.
mistakes and things everywhere. So that is such good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to
Um,
go deeper and not wider,
and now
right?
wider. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. And so, one thing I'm curious about is what's one habit or belief that you have had to completely let go of to really transition from surviving as an entrepreneur to like thriving and doing really well?
Oh, can I give you two?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So, one, I had to stop believing that I had to earn rest.
Mm,
Rest, I used to tell myself, okay, if I get through these 6 tasks today, I can go lay down and like chill out and do whatever I want to do. And
mm-hmm,
it never worked out like that. After those 6 tasks, I would add on something else and then something else. And the next thing you know, I'm like up at the crack of dawn with like bright red eyes because I'm exhausted, right?
mm-hmm,
Like rest isn't something that you have to earn, it's your birthright. It's
mm-hmm,
an essential part of you as a, running a successful business is rest,
mm-hmm,
and without it you're not going to be the person or the business owner that you want to be. So I really had to shift my mindset from believing that rest was this shiny reward at the end of the day for doing everything that I said I was going to do.
mm-hmm,
And for me, that really took implementing something that I call the me hour into my day. So it's
mm-hmm,
like no matter what I have going on, no matter how many tasks I have to do, I am going to take that hour out for myself
mm-hmm,
to make sure that I'm getting that rest in. It's on my to-do list the same way checking an email is, or showing up for an event, or writing out, a newsletter. And then the second thing that I really had to remember is that rest isn't lazy. Um, I grew up with incredible women who were hardworking, who I very rarely saw make rest a priority. And I
mm-hmm.
remember as a kid, like not doing anything and just chilling, and I'd be told, like, don't be lazy, like get up, do something, like you should be moving, doing something. And like that was
Yes.
just kind of like ingrained in me. So I had to really learn that like rest isn't lazy. You're
Mm-mm.
tired. Your body needs to
Yes.
rest. Even Jesus took a break. Like you need
Yeah.
to rest. You need to break. You need to take a break. You need to take care of yourself. Or if not, you're going to burn out. You're going to become just like those women that you saw growing up. You're going to become just like those entrepreneurs who are bajillionaires, but who are so unhappy with their life because they are tired and they've
Mm.
spent so much time building these businesses that they don't even like. So like
Yes.
you rest is not lazy. Like you need it in order to become the person that you want to be. Whether you are an entrepreneur or working a 9 to 5 or a stay-at-home mom or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be, you need that time to yourself. It is not lazy for you to say, no, I need a 15-minute break, I need my hour break. And you also just have to remember too that like you are deserving of rest regardless of how many tasks you complete within a day.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love
Mhm.
that because that's, it's capitalism essentially, right? Because like
Oh
always
yeah,
having to be always producing, 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 and we as a
yeah,
society, I think, and I think us as millennials, like we've had to heavily deconstruct it where we kind of, because, it was hustle culture, even building
yeah.
your business. And I think now,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of business owners who I've seen in the industry who were talking about hustle culture, now they resting, honey, and they resting hard.
Exactly, exactly.
They're taking their now, you know what I mean? And I think for me, I
Mm-hmm.
even had the misconception that like, okay, well, they worked really hard at the beginning to build the life that they had. So then they get to rest. Like that's what I
Mm-hmm.
have been currently thinking. And I like really need to shift of like, no, like, and I do like I definitely I have habits that have gotten a lot better, like a lot stronger, but in other
Yeah,
areas, like no, I still need to work on that. So I just love that you said that, like
yeah.
it like rest is resistance, rest is your birthright, and like
Mm-hmm.
that is something that we are all owed. And so like there's no shame in resting, like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
and no matter, and I also want to say in terms of resting, it's not easy to rest. That's something too
Oh
I
yeah,
am learning. Like
yeah.
I realize that when I am resting and I'm not doing anything, my
Mm-hmm.
anxiety is still through the roof. So now I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
doing like nervous system regulation or whatever, like just doing
Yeah.
like I obviously did tapping, but even longer exercises. Like I will literally like hop in the shower like cold and do like a cold, like I don't have like a cold plunge, but like what I mean, like
Yeah.
that, or like
Mm-hmm.
deep breathing exercises, any way to keep me calm, like neutral,
Mm-hmm.
like not experiencing just peace. That's what it is. Because
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
you're not experiencing that and you're sitting there doing like if you're sitting there doing nothing but your nervous system is like
Always
all
going.
revved up, you're not
Yeah.
resting. That's something I've
Yeah.
learned. I'm like, I'm still
Yeah.
not resting because I would do that. And I would still
Mm-hmm.
wake up tired. I'd be like, why am I
Mm-hmm.
still exhausted? It's because I'm truly like my cortisol levels are high. I'm running off
Yeah.
of emotion. Like my body just feels like my mind knows I need to rest, but my body isn't feeling it. And so I've been trying to work on ways for
Mm-hmm.
my body to catch up with my mind. And
Yeah.
so that's something too that I think we don't talk about enough.
Yes.
So
Yes. You
yeah.
have to learn how to like bring your entire system into like down mode almost. Like,
Yes.
how do I stop overthinking, stop the influx of thoughts, but also like you said, like calm my entire nervous system down to the point where my muscles, like deep down, everything just feels relaxed. By the way, one of my favorite ways to do that is a body scan meditation.
Oh, okay,
Oh, it
okay.
is incredible, especially if you're someone who you find that your like nervous system is like really heightened at nighttime when you're trying to go to bed and like your mind is
Yes.
always going. A
Mm-hmm.
body scan meditation is going to be great for that because it literally helps you to focus on every muscle in your body and like
Mm.
just calming each muscle. And like, so your brain stops because you're focusing on like relaxing your shoulders and relaxing your
Mm-hmm.
fingers and your knees, but then your body also relaxes too. And I go to sleep immediately after every single time.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm gonna
Little
do that.
tip.
Little
Yeah.
tip.
Little
Yes.
tip.
Oh my gosh, I love that. No, this is all like super, super helpful. And, you know, I would love to hear from you. Have you been in the journey
Yeah.
for 10 years? Is what is one thing about you like that has made you a better entrepreneur that really surprised you?
Ooh, taking like one full day off
Mm.
for like nothing. For like
Mm.
myself.
Yeah.
Again, like I used to think that again I had to work 24 hours a day, and
Hmm.
obviously I end up becoming, extremely burnt out. And as someone who also deals with like anxiety and depression, like it just was not good for me.
Yeah.
And I've learned that I need one day of like a reset. So typically my days are either on Sunday or Monday. I have a 5-year-old, so it depends on her schedule, of
Yeah.
course. But Sunday or Monday is when I like take my reset day. So
Mm,
I will do no more than just my me hour. I will do like a deeper workout. I will take
mm,
longer to like really work on some mindfulness. I will
mm,
kind of tidy up my space so that I don't feel like clutter is something that like really agitates me.
mhm,
I will like open up a notebook and like put pen to paper and brain dump literally everything that is in my head. And having that day of like a mental kind of physical reset really sets me up for like Tuesday through Sunday, or whenever I have to like work and really be involved in things. And
mm,
I was really hesitant at first because it's like, girl, it's Monday. My daughter is at school for at least
mm.
6, 7 hours. I should
Yeah.
be doing something with this time. But it's like, no, you are doing something. You are
Mm,
actually being productive. You are getting all of those ideas out of your head, all those questions out of your head. You're taking deeper care of your body. I also will schedule like appointments, no, doctor's appointments and things like that on
mhm,
that day. So it's like you really are fully focusing on yourself. And it doesn't feel productive again because we're not highlighting and checking off all of these business tasks, but
mm,
it is productive because you're taking better care of yourself. And if I can use that one day to really reset and clear my mind and just kind of hype myself a little bit up, the rest of the week goes so much smoother than when
mhm.
I don't have that day. And actually, if I don't have that day, I'm frazzled, I'm a little irritated, I'm
Yes.
frustrated, and I'm like, I'm missing something. And that's because my mind and body has been going for like a week straight. I haven't given myself time to just start over. So that has probably been the most surprising change that I've made to this journey that has made like a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And
Hmm.
yes, I think that is such because I know a lot of business owners too. Not a lot, well, some of them they'll do like a Sabbath, like Friday. I have one of friends who does like
Yeah.
hers is Friday, and like
Hmm.
she's not on her phone. Her phone is
Yeah.
completely blocked off. Like she does not
Yeah.
respond to anybody, doesn't look at social media, nothing. And
Hmm.
she will only do tasks that like bring her joy, whether that's
Yeah.
reading a book or taking her dog for a walk and stuff like that. And she
Hmm.
said too, like that has made such a big, big difference for
Yeah.
her and her business. Like where because again, I think you're showing, you're showing up as a better version of you that allows you also the space to be more
Hmm.
creative, be more innovative when you're more centered and
Yeah.
aligned. And so I love that. And so what I'm so curious to know about you with like
Hmm.
now you have all these practices, you just that like you feel more aligned, like you're building a business that truly works for you, and also too where you get to rest, you get to do the things that bring you joy and all of that. I'm so curious to know, like with your business stuff, like what's next for you, like what are you working on in the upcoming new year?
Yeah. So I introduced like a framework called the Me Hour.
Mhm.
earlier in 2024, which is just like a simple framework that helps entrepreneurs to like make rest a daily priority and
Mm,
put it on your to-do list as if it is a
mm,
priority. But one of the things I'm also excited about in the future, hopefully coming up early 2025, is something called the capacity calculator. So I recognize with entrepreneurs, when we sit down to plan the week, we are piling on everything onto our to-do
yes.
list. Everything. We're like, I'm going to shoot for the moon, the stars. Like, I am going to, create world peace all in these 7 days. And it's like, no, baby, you that's great, but you
Yeah.
can't. So I'm working on something called the capacity calculator, where the goal is you sit down on Sunday before you plan out your week,
Mhm.
and you answer kind of like this quiz of like how you're feeling, how you're doing, like kind of just assessing yourself and your mind. And at the end, it lets you know if you have low, medium, or high capacity. And based on your capacity, it's going to show you how you need to structure your week, what you need to say no to, and how you can, like begin to prioritize different self care tips based on your capacity. And it's my goal that it will be a tool that people can not only use like every week, like combine it into their planning routine, but it will also help eliminate a lot of that burnout that we cause on ourselves. I
Mm.
believe the biggest boundary that entrepreneurs need to make is the boundary on ourselves, like our
Mm,
own
yes.
work.
Yep.
And it's my hope that this kind of quiz will help you to place those boundaries around yourself so that burnout isn't inevitable. Like you don't have to hit burnout in order to be a successful entrepreneur. So that is like my one of my big goals for, upcoming year.
Please have that come out immediately because that is me.
I,
I will
yeah.
literally dogpile all my tasks. Then I'm pissed when I look at
Yes.
the day and I only got 2 tasks done. I'm like, oh, cool. What were you
Yeah.
doing? Not
Yeah.
realizing like these tasks actually take time.
Yeah. You
Like,
can't solve
then
world peace in one day.
and then I feel like I haven't been productive. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is one thing that we as business owners can do? Like, I know obviously you're having the capacity calculator come out, but like, what is
Mm-hmm.
one thing we can do to really assess our capacity?
Oh, be honest with yourself.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I would go through, if you wanted to make it plainly, like go through your mind, your body, I would say your physical, or I'm sorry, your spiritual, and just rate it between like 1 to 5. Okay,
Mm,
if you're like, for mental, how cluttered does my mind feel right now? If I
mm,
had to sit down and write a complete paragraph, would I be able to do it like in a reasonable amount of time without feeling frustrated, without feeling blocked? Am I irritated? Am I frustrated? And just kind of like
mhm.
label that, like, or rate that between 1 and 5. If you're coming up with all ones, then baby, your capacity is low.
Neg- Negative.
You negative. If
Negative.
you get to the physical part and you're like, my body aches, I'm exhausted, I have a migraine constantly for the past few days, then going into this week, you need to take it easy on yourself. And that level of self care needs to be higher than your level of
Yes.
productivity in your business. Like, you have to take care of yourself. And for spiritual, if you're like, I'm just feeling like really hopeless, I'm not excited about anything. Okay, then that means you really need to dig into that part of yourself this week
Mhm,
before actually piling on all of these tasks or to-dos that you could be doing. But if you go into the week and you're like, girl, I'm a 5 in mental, 5 in physical, 5 in spiritual, then go for it. Like,
mhm,
go at it. Try to complete all of those big, robust tasks that you have. But just because you're doing great this week doesn't mean that what you do this week won't affect how you feel going into the next week. So even though you can tackle some of those bigger tasks and you have the capacity for it, still remember you have to make rest a priority. Like,
mm,
you don't rest only when you're tired. Like,
mhm,
that is something I want everyone to remember. Like, you need to rest before you actually get to that point. So
mhm.
just because you do have a bigger capacity doesn't mean you have a little extra space to like run yourself into the ground. No, it
Yes.
just means you can do a couple more tasks or maybe some bigger tasks than normal, but still keep in mind that you have to take better care of yourself. So rating those areas between 1 and 5 and just being very honest with yourself. Like, you don't have
Mhm,
to tell anybody else. If you are exhausted, say, I feel like I am at a -2 right now, and I am
mhm.
going to take a day to do nothing. And that is
Yes.
okay. That is
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. And I will absolutely be implementing that. And I
Yes.
think too also not being afraid to tell people that you don't have the capacity. I think
Yeah.
sometimes
Oh
too
yeah.
like we get really scared to do that because then we either
Hmm.
feel like we are incompetent, we're like not capable, like why aren't I strong enough to do this? And it's like no, I think people really do appreciate when somebody's like, I don't have the capacity. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah.
think being okay communicating that as well. Number one, accepting that, but being
Yeah.
honest with yourself and accepting that, and then not being
Hmm.
afraid to also communicate it to people that like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do that right now.
Yeah. And if they can't respect that, is that really someone that you want to be involved with or work with?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bullet
1000%.
dodged.
You said I'm dodging bullets left and right.
Dodge it. Dodge
Dodge
it.
it. Dodge it. Oh my gosh. I have loved this conversation so much. And I think it's so needed as a great way for us to reset as we, are into the new year. And whenever we
Mhm.
choose to really start taking action in our business, I think this is just such a great way to make sure that what we are building is sustainable, making sure that
Mhm.
we as ourselves are sustainable. And so I love that. And so for every question we love to end with is what do you think is the biggest differentiator between the businesses that succeed and the ones that fail?
Ooh, the ones who succeed know that rest is a priority and it is a
Mhm.
necessity and not
Mhm.
just a luxury that you have to earn. I feel
Mm.
like all the best entrepreneurs probably won't tell you that they
Yeah.
take time to rest,
Mhm.
but they're prioritizing themselves, whether it's
Mm.
waking up at 5 a.m. to get a good workout in
Mhm.
or stopping work at 5 o'clock so that they can like intentionally
Mhm.
spend time with family. If you
Mhm.
want to succeed, you are going to take better care of yourself.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Love that. Alicia,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. And so for
Thank
people that
you.
want to support you, definitely download that the capacity calculator.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
Yes. So you can find me. My website is doingeverydaywell.com. I'm typically hanging out on Instagram and threads at Doing Well with Alicia. And yeah, you can find me there. All of the details of like my resources and ways that you can begin to like, make rest a priority will be mostly on the website.
Oh my gosh, love that. Well,
Yes.
Alicia, thank you. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation and for everyone
Thank
tuning
you.
in. Until next time.